Chosen one. The world has been watching you with eyes that don't understand. They've whispered behind your back, mocked the way you pray, laughed at the way your lips tremble when you speak to God. They call it weakness because they cannot see the power that flows in silence. They don't know that every tear you've cried has been seen, every prayer you've whispered has been heard. You walk with a faith they can't measure, a light they can't explain, and that's why they mock what they fear. You've been chosen to stand where others would fall, to remain calm when storms rise, and to keep your faith steady when the crowd turns cruel. God said, "Don't react," because their laughter isn't power, it's desperation. Their mockery is the sound of demons trembling in disguise. You're not here by accident. You've been guided to this moment for a reason that's greater than pain. Right now, the universe has opened a small doorway in front of you, a chance to turn mockery into divine fuel. Write 99 in the comments. Release your warmest wish. Let it rise through the frequencies of heaven. If your soul is waking as you hear these words, don't scroll away. Like this video. Subscribe now. You belong here. Your faith isn't meant to please people. It's meant to move mountains. Let them laugh because one day they'll choke on the silence of your victory. God said, "Don't react," because your response is coming through His hands, not your words. They've laughed at prophets before. They've mocked those who walked with light, because light exposes what darkness tries to hide. The mockers need attention, but you have alignment. You don't need to prove your faith. It proves itself in your peace. Every time you stay silent while they expect you to break, your silence becomes sacred armor. They don't realize that every joke about your faith plants a seed in their own spirit. One day, their laughter will echo back to them in regret when they see what God builds from the ashes of their cruelty. Your job isn't to fight back. Your job is to rise so high that their words can't reach the altitude of your soul. Chosen one, this is your training ground. God is teaching you mastery through stillness. Not reacting doesn't mean weakness. It means divine awareness. You've learned that not everything deserves a response, and not every attack deserves your energy. When they mock your faith, they reveal their emptiness. When you stay silent, you reveal your strength. You are the living proof that peace is louder than pride. Remember this. Those who mock what they don't understand will one day bow before what they can no longer deny. So, keep walking. Keep believing. Keep glowing. God is not blind to what's been said. He's preparing to show them what faith truly looks like when it's crowned with purpose. The night will always test your silence before the dawn reveals your strength. Chosen one, there are moments when their laughter echoes louder than your prayers, when their words burn through your heart like knives wrapped in sarcasm. You hear it in the way they look at you, in the way they twist your faith into jokes meant to draw reactions. But deep down, something in you knows that the mockery isn't about you. It's about what's inside you. They sense the power, they sense the calling, and it terrifies them. People mock what they can't control and they ridicule what they secretly admire. That's why God said, don't react, because you're not standing on their level anymore. You've been elevated to a place where noise can't reach, where laughter loses its meaning, where peace is your response and silence is your victory cry. They want to pull you down into arguments that don't deserve your voice. They want to make you question your devotion, to turn your heart cold and your faith quiet. But this is the moment when heaven watches your patience more closely than ever before. Every time you refuse to respond, the universe bows in recognition of your strength. Every time you smile instead of defend, angels move around you, building invisible walls that mockers will never understand. Your silence is not absence, it's alignment. You are being redefined by stillness, purified through restraint, elevated by surrender. Because when you no longer react to ridicule, you prove that your faith isn't fragile. It's unshakable. You will notice something powerful soon. Those who mocked you will begin to watch you differently. They'll see your calmness, your refusal to engage, and it will unsettle them. They will start to feel the weight of their own laughter. You see, mockery carries a curse. It always circles back to its source. God has a way of turning their ridicule into your reminder. Every laugh becomes a prophecy in disguise. Every insult becomes a seed that blossoms into proof of your purpose. What they mocked will one day become what they chase. The very faith they laughed at will be the faith they cling to when their world collapses. That's how divine reversal works. Chosen one, remember this. Every time you're silent, heaven speaks louder for you. When you stop defending yourself, God begins defending you publicly. When you stop explaining your faith, He starts demonstrating it. So don't react. Don't give them the performance they're waiting for. You were never meant to entertain darkness. You were meant to expose it by existing. Keep walking through their laughter like it's just another echo fading behind you. Every step forward is a sermon. Every breath of peace is proof that you've evolved beyond the reach of mockery. Those who made fun of your faith will one day tell your story as an example of strength they never understood. They'll remember your silence and realize it was the sound of God moving through you. There comes a moment, chosen one, when silence becomes your loudest weapon, when the laughter of those who once mocked you begins to sound hollow against the rhythm of your progress. You start to see it clearly, how they mocked not your faith, but the reflection of their own unbelief. They laughed because your devotion made them uncomfortable, because your peace made them feel powerless. Every time you bowed your head in prayer, it reminded them of what they lost: connection, hope, and meaning. And so they tried to drag you into their emptiness with ridicule. But you didn't fall. You stood firm in your quiet strength, and that silence has now begun to echo in their minds like thunder after a storm. It's easy to fight back. It's easy to speak when your pride is hurt. But chosen ones aren't built for easy responses. They're designed for divine restraint. You've been called to mirror heaven, not emotion. To move when God moves, not when people provoke. Every time you refused to react, you rewrote your destiny. Every time you walked away from gossip, the heavens opened another door. That's how faith works. It rewards patience that looks foolish to the world. They thought your stillness was surrender, but they didn't know that your silence was sacred warfare. They saw no movement, but in the unseen realm, armies of light were already moving in your favor. They may never admit it, but your faith unsettles them. It makes them question their comfort. You carry a calmness they can't imitate, a peace they can't purchase, and an anointing they can't mock away. The very thing they make fun of is the thing that will save them later. Remember this: every time someone laughs at your belief, it's a prophecy disguised as an insult. One day, those same lips will speak your name with respect, because when God begins to elevate you, mockery turns into memory. Those who once laughed will have to watch your rise in silence. Chosen one, your endurance is writing a story no insult can erase. Every time you hold your tongue, heaven writes another line of your legacy. Every time you keep your peace, your crown shines brighter. God isn't asking you to ignore them because you're weak. He's training you to master yourself. Those who mock faith are prisoners of reaction. They live in chaos because they can't live without noise. But you are chosen to become untouchable. When you stop reacting, you step into divine rhythm. You no longer move by their sound. You move by His whisper. That's where miracles begin, in the quiet place where mockery loses its meaning and faith becomes your only language. Soon they'll understand, not through your words, but through your results. They'll see doors opening that they said would never exist. They'll see blessings falling that they claimed were impossible. And they'll realize that faith mocked is still faith rewarded. You don't have to defend what's divine. Just keep walking, chosen one. The laughter that tried to humiliate you is already becoming applause in another realm. God said don't react, because your vindication isn't coming through anger. It's coming through evidence. The moment the laughter fades, chosen one, something shifts in the air. It's quiet now, not because the world respects you, but because it's starting to fear what you've become. The silence you built around your pain has turned into a fortress, and every insult they threw has turned into a brick in your wall of strength. They mocked you thinking they could wound your spirit, but your spirit was never made of glass. It was made of fire. You've walked through ridicule, through whispers, through the sting of being misunderstood. Yet here you are, still standing, still believing, still hearing God's voice louder than their noise. That's the power of divine discipline. You learned to turn humiliation into growth and rejection into revelation. Every time they laughed, heaven took notes. Every time they joked about your prayers, God added another layer of grace to your armor. They thought they were breaking you, but they were helping you evolve. Because faith that has never been mocked is faith that has never been tested, and faith that's never been tested can't move mountains. You've passed a test they didn't even know existed. That's why you're glowing differently now. That's why your energy feels unshakable. You've discovered that peace isn't the absence of pain. It's the victory over reaction. They expected you to snap, to defend, to lower yourself to their level. But instead you became still. And in that stillness, you became untouchable. Chosen one, you must understand. The more light you carry, the more darkness mocks. It's how the spiritual world works. The devil never mocks what isn't a threat. He never attacks what isn't valuable. So when they ridicule your faith, it's confirmation that your light has become unbearable to those living in shadow. Their laughter is a signal. They can sense your elevation. And that's why you must not react. Because if you do, you descend. When you stay still, you ascend. God is fighting for you in realms you can't see. Every act of restraint becomes an act of warfare. Every calm breath becomes a roar in the spirit world. And soon, the shift will be visible. The same mouths that mocked your devotion will start to speak softer when you enter the room. The same people who rolled their eyes at your faith will suddenly remember your name when they're desperate for hope. They'll look for the one who never fought back, the one who stayed peaceful when everyone else lost control. You, the chosen one, who didn't react when the world demanded anger. They'll realize that faith isn't a costume you wear, it's a fire that doesn't burn out when ridiculed. You've carried that flame through storms that would have crushed others. You've kept your faith pure when mockery tried to corrupt it. And now that flame is becoming something they can no longer ignore. So when they laugh again, and they will, smile. Because that's when you'll know the next door is about to open. Mockery always comes before manifestation. When the noise rises, it's because your breakthrough is near. God said don't react, because He's already reacting for you. You don't need to defend your faith. Your faith is already defending you. Keep walking, keep praying, keep trusting. The ones who mocked you will one day witness the reason why heaven never let you respond. The storm is almost over, chosen one. You can feel it, the energy shifting, the weight lifting, the silence before the revelation. Those who mocked your faith sense something changing but can't explain it. They feel uneasy because deep inside, their spirits recognize the presence of something divine around you. They tried to label you delusional, called your devotion strange, and dismissed your prayers as fantasy. But what they didn't know is that mockery is often the last attack before manifestation. Their laughter was the sound of fear wearing confidence. They thought they were exposing your weakness, but they were announcing your transformation. The moment you stopped reacting, you began ruling. You took your power back the second you chose peace over pride, because true faith doesn't need an audience. It only needs endurance. You understood that silence wasn't retreat, it was command. You started moving differently, praying quietly but powerfully, speaking less but meaning more. Every unspoken word became a decree. Every silent tear became a seed. Heaven recorded it all. And now, those who mocked you will be forced to witness the harvest they said would never grow. You will not have to prove anything. Your peace will do the talking. Chosen one, this is where your story changes tone. The laughter that once haunted your nights will soon become the echo of your triumph. You're walking into a new phase where faith becomes visible, not through words, but through results. Doors will open, blessings will unfold, and the same people who said, "Where is your God?" will see His fingerprints all over your life. This is why God told you not to react, because reactions belong to the impatient, but miracles belong to the faithful. You stayed quiet when they provoked you. You remained humble when they lied, and you trusted when logic said give up. That's why heaven is about to respond on your behalf. Don't look back at them with bitterness. Look forward with gratitude. Because without their mockery, you might not have discovered how strong your faith really was. Without their laughter, you might never have learned how powerful silence could be. Every insult trained your patience. Every sneer refined your humility. Every joke about your prayers reminded heaven that you still believed. You've been shaped by their rejection into someone they can no longer reach. What once broke you now builds you. What once hurt you now crowns you. You're close now. The final test is to remain still even as the pressure rises again. They may try one last time to make you react, to drag you back into their noise. Don't. This is where most people lose their blessing, by responding too soon. Don't let their words tempt you to step down from your peace. You're standing on holy ground now. The next sound you'll hear won't be laughter. It will be divine confirmation. So breathe. Wait. Hold your ground. The silence that once hurt you is about to become the sound of heaven moving. It's quiet now, chosen one. The noise that once surrounded you has faded into the background like a storm that spent all its fury and finally ran out of power. You can feel it in your bones, the calm that comes after the test, the sacred stillness where God's presence lingers. This is what He was preparing you for all along. Not to react, not to fight back, but to rise in silence, stronger than ever. The mockery no longer hurts because it no longer holds truth. Their words have lost weight because your spirit no longer bends under their gravity. You have become what they feared, a believer who doesn't flinch, a warrior who doesn't swing, a soul so rooted in faith that laughter turns to silence when you walk in the room. Do you see it now? Every moment they laughed at your prayers was a sign that heaven was listening. Every insult was proof that the light inside you made the darkness nervous. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to remind people what faith looks like when it's tested and still refuses to break. God said, don't react, because reaction would have interrupted revelation. Every time you held your peace, you allowed the divine process to unfold. The enemy's strategy was to provoke you into lowering your vibration. But you learned to rise instead of respond, to transform instead of explain, to let God translate your pain into purpose. And now, those who mocked your faith will have to watch the story they never believed in come to life. They'll remember every word they used to wound you, and realize those words were building your altar. Their laughter built your discipline. Their doubt built your destiny. Because when you stop fighting for attention, you make room for elevation. When you stop defending yourself, you allow God to defend you in ways no human could. You didn't lose your voice. You mastered your silence. That's the kind of power only chosen ones carry. So as you stand here now, breathing in peace that once felt impossible, remember, the test was never about them. It was about you. Could you remain calm when chaos mocked you? Could you trust when the world laughed at your faith? You did, and that's why the heavens have opened. You've earned what can't be faked, divine composure. The mockery was just the furnace, and you walked through it untouched. God said, don't react, and you listened. And because of that, everything that was meant to humiliate you will now elevate you. This is not the end, chosen one. It's the revelation. From here, silence will speak louder than sermons. Your peace will preach louder than words. Those who once mocked you will fall silent, not because you silenced them, but because your results did. Their laughter has turned into awe. Their disbelief has turned into proof. You were never meant to fight the noise. You were meant to outlast it. So walk forward with calm power, knowing that your restraint opened heaven's gates. God said, "Don't react," because he already wrote your reply in the language of victory. The air feels different now, chosen one. It's not just peace, it's authority. You've stepped into a level where words are unnecessary, where presence alone carries weight. The same world that once laughed at your faith now studies your silence like scripture. They wonder how you kept standing, how you stayed composed when they threw stones disguised as jokes. What they'll never understand is that you weren't surviving, you were ascending. Every insult was a rung on your ladder, every sneer a spark that refined your fire. You didn't defend your faith because it never needed defense. It needed demonstration. And now your life itself has become the sermon they can't ignore. They thought mocking your faith would make you doubt, but it only made you dangerous. You became what no weapon can harm. Unreactive, unbreakable, unstoppable. That's why peace feels so loud around you. It's heaven's applause. You've walked through ridicule, and instead of rage, you discovered rhythm. You've been trained to move with grace when provoked, to keep walking while they trip over their own bitterness. That's divine maturity, the ability to stand still in the middle of mockery and still radiate love. You didn't just pass a test, you graduated into authority. Now your stillness commands more power than their noise ever could. Look at how far you've come. The same people who once rolled their eyes at your prayers now mimic your strength. The same voices that laughed are now whispering your name with respect. That's what happens when faith finishes its process. It becomes undeniable. The lesson wasn't to win arguments. It was to win peace. God said don't react because reaction is temporary, but revelation is eternal. You've reached the moment where your story begins to speak for itself. You are proof that mockery cannot kill destiny. Chosen one, this is where heaven starts, rewarding what earth rejected. The laughter that once hurt you has become background noise to a melody of miracles. Everything they said you imagined is now taking form. Every word you prayed in secret is about to show up in daylight. You've been faithful, silent, and unshaken, and that's exactly what qualified you for this moment. You're not just walking into blessings, you're walking into divine credibility. People will look at you and realize that faith mocked is faith multiplied. So hold your head high, not in pride, but in peace, because what's ahead of you no longer involves proving anything. It's about being everything God promised. You'll feel the weight of heaven behind your calmness. You'll sense angels moving when you choose not to respond. You'll walk through rooms where mockery once echoed, and your silence will sanctify the space. You are no longer the target, you are the testimony. God said, don't react, because he was waiting for this exact moment when your composure would reveal your calling. The laughter was loud, but destiny was louder. And now, silence has spoken. It's over now, chosen one. The mockery, the whispers, the stares, all of it has lost its power. You've walked through the fire they built for your humiliation and came out glowing with divine calm. God was never asking you to ignore them out of fear. He was teaching you to rise beyond reach. They thought they were breaking you, but all they did was polish your faith until it reflected heaven itself. Every insult became a spark that lit your endurance. Every joke about your prayers became proof of how deeply your light unsettled their darkness. You didn't respond because your silence was the sermon. And now your victory speaks louder than any defense ever could. The same mouths that laughed are quiet now. The same eyes that rolled are watching in awe. They're starting to see that your stillness wasn't weakness. It was prophecy. God said, "Don't react." And because you listened, your peace became His weapon. You didn't fight back. You outlasted them. You let heaven handle what pride wanted to fix. That's why your name is being written into stories of faith you haven't even heard yet. You've become the living evidence that patience wins what pride loses. The mockers didn't realize they were helping you ascend. They tried to humiliate you publicly, but God exalted you privately. And now that light is too bright to be hidden. Stand tall, chosen one. The silence that once felt heavy now feels holy. You've become untouchable, not because you're perfect, but because you've learned when not to speak. The test was never about the laughter. It was about your reaction. And you passed. You carried your faith like a crown, unbothered, unwavering, unshaken. Let them see what endurance looks like. Let them see what peace produces. You've been vindicated without a word, blessed without revenge, elevated without noise. God said, "Don't react," and because you obeyed, He turned mockery into majesty. The laughter has stopped, but your story has just begun.